Welcome back to Iron Sharpens Iron's friends. Today we're going to start with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech,
Nice.
August 28th, 1963. We feel this is important as we want to talk a little bit about what's going on in America today after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. And Dr. King said, "We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall march ahead. We cannot turn back, knowing somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of this moment, I still have a dream."
What happened to leaders who spoke like that? What happened to leaders that inspired us in spite of our differences, as opposed to stoke the flames of them? That inspired us to have a dream that looked so different in the current landscape and so different than the one that we may have agreed with being on one side of an issue or another. Like, what happened to leaders that could just inspire us to want and become more? Damn.
You know, when he gave that speech, the divide was so different than the things that divide us today.
Yeah.
I mean, the divide back then was over civil liberties.
Yeah.
The right for everybody to be able to vote, the right for everybody to go to the same schools and not have segregation. The women's rights was still a thing back then as well. And, today that's closer than it probably ever has been in history, that from a legislative standpoint, we all share the same ability to go build the life that we want, right? The American dream is achievable to everybody that's willing to work for it. Now, some have to work a little harder than others because we're not all born into the same financial circumstances. We don't all have the same access to the same quality of education.
Right.
But we do have access to an education, and we do have access to be able to work and to go work towards the dream career that we want. But we get so divided. Now, what I love about that quote, he says, the situation can and will be changed. We're not turning back. We cannot turn back. So don't wallow in despair. There's difficulties, there's frustrations going on. I still have a dream.
That's beautiful, man. Still have a dream. And I have a dream too, that we're going to figure this out. Like, I truly do. I have a dream that we're really going to figure this out. I know that we're going to. We will forge ahead. I feel like society, just humans in general, we're like servo mechanisms. You know what a servo mechanism is?
You were just telling me a few minutes ago with the targeting on the
Essentially,
rockets.
for our viewers, a servo mechanism is a device that is used on a rocket. You shoot a rocket and you have a target, right? Bad kind of rockets. And the rocket fires off going to its target and the wind blows it. Servo mechanism kicks in and says, "You're off target." And the rocket it corrects, but it has to overcorrect. And then the servo mechanism says, "Hey, you overcorrected, you're off target." And then it corrects again, and then it corrects again, and bam! And it's large and then smaller overcorrections. And I feel like that's what we do as a society. Like, we go back to Martin Luther King Jr.'s time and we talk about him having a dream. He dreamt that people would be judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I feel like we've never been closer to that point than we have in society. Are we there yet? No. But we're as close as we've ever been. You talk about the civil liberties or the lack thereof of, like, folks in specific genders, women specifically, gender identity, all of that stuff. We're closer than we've ever been. But I feel like what happens is when you're in these groups that were treated so poorly, like, let's just call a spade, like indentured servitude, slavery, that's like a plague on the planet. It didn't just happen in America. It happened all throughout the world. It's just a plague on society, right? Talk about the Israelites in Egypt or the African Americans in America. It's just it's terrible. It's bad. You talk about gender discrimination. It's terrible. It's bad. And I feel like what happens when we finally do essentially cross the Red Sea is we overcorrect. Now these groups, because they were hurt, discriminated against, disparaged, are angry at the ones that did the discrimination. Rightly so. I would be as well. But a lot of the times I see that the captives become the captors. And it overcorrects. And that's what I see with, say, like the Charlie Kirk situation. It's a tragedy. No one should ever be excited when someone gets murdered for speaking to people about what they believe in. I didn't believe in a lot of what this guy said, but I appreciated our freedom of speech to say what he said in a free society where you can have discourse and disagreement. And because of that tragedy, what's happening, I feel now, is an overcorrection of what environment we've been in for a long time. Let's be honest, like the last 2-3 years, there's been a cancel culture.
It's totally been a cancel culture.
If you didn't say what was like acceptable PC, like look at South Park, PC principle, you know what I mean? If you weren't speaking PC principle talk, you were canceled. You're canceled.
And they found that going back not to the most recent election, but the one 4 years ago, they have, like, Zuckerberg has come out and admitted that they suppressed conservative articles and stories and things. If it was going to negatively impact the more liberal side, the Democrat Party, it was suppressed.
Yeah. If you
and Twitter had the same thing. Like it was like they've come out and said straight up that they did it, and even the FBI would come and ask them to do it back then. So yeah, it was absolutely restricted speech and the cancel culture of more traditional conservative.
If you didn't fit into the PC principle, if you were on the conservative side and said some things that were not exactly status quo at the time, you'd be canceled. It didn't even have to be true. You didn't have a due process. Someone could just say you said something and you'd be canceled. And I feel like that somewhat got back to the rocket somewhat corrected, and now is overcorrected. Because of this tragedy, these terrible things, we have other people getting canceled, like Jimmy Kimmel, for example. Like now it switches on the other side. And should he have said what he said? I don't think so.
No.
But it's just
he's outright lying about things.
But it's just the same thing. It's people trying to silence people's voices that they don't believe in. And that is just the complete opposite of what I believe that what this guy, Charlie Kirk, was about. It's not about silencing your difference of opinion, but it's about my opinion and your opinion coming together and we can have healthy debate. And it wasn't always healthy, but it was debate. And no one got hurt. No one got killed. No one got canceled. No one got walked out because they didn't think the same way as the person that was speaking and had the mic and had the power. They got to debate. And you like watched Charlie Kirk evolve from like a dude who was about to get jumped on a college campus sitting at one of those like little plastic tables to like this last event, which it like looked like a freaking football stadium was filled.
Yeah, they had over 3,000 people there.
It's wild.
And, you know, the thing I respect about Charlie Kirk so much, so I didn't follow him very closely. I know what his organization was. I saw some clips and things, and I found out after this happened, my oldest son, I found out was a follower of Charlie's, and I thought that was really cool because his talent for engaging the youth of today and getting them to be able to have a healthy debate instead of just yelling at each other on social media, but to actually be able to get in and debate and argue your viewpoints on things and get them politically active, whether Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, both.
He engaged the youth of today in politics.
Which is beautiful.
And in civil discourse.
Yeah.
And he had a talent for that probably greater than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
With the young people specifically.
He was a good debater. He'd have been great in speech and debate. I know he was in speech and debate.
He was, absolutely. He was, and he's phenomenal about it. And the thing that I respect is he spoke from the heart.
Yeah.
You know, he and I share Christian values.
Yeah, me too.
And he wasn't afraid to bring that up in any situation.
Because that's what he believes in, and that's what I believe in. And that's okay to believe in that. And it's okay not to believe in that. And it's okay to disagree on that. In fact, it's good and beautiful to disagree on that. But what's not okay is to hate each other because of your disagreements.
Correct. And, you can go and there's so many videos out there. And so for like a audience, if you haven't gone and done any research on this, I encourage you to do so. Like, just go on YouTube and look up, Charlie Kirk debates and see how he did it, because he was quite respectful. Now, would he poke fun sometimes? Absolutely. Because there are things
he's
that
not perfect.
he was hearing things that are
Yeah.
pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
All the time, right? But
people have some wild opinions and thoughts.
People have some very wild opinions.
Which
and
is okay. I got some wild opinions and thoughts.
I as well.
You hear them all the time. Yeah.
But it was nonviolent.
Yeah.
Gandhi, right? Like Gandhi is another famous person that stood for free speech and, freedom and equal rights and all that. And he famously said, his speech, "Quit India," this is from 1942, said, "A nonviolent soldier of freedom will covet nothing for himself. He fights only for the freedom of his country." Key word in that whole thing is nonviolent.
Yeah.
I mean, we fought for freedom in a nonviolent way. Dr. King, same way. Thousands of people would go on the marches, but it wasn't like today where you go have the march and it turns into a riot and they're burning stores and, chucking cinder blocks at people and all the other crazy things that happen that truly is just mob culture.
Yeah.
And that was what I appreciated about Charlie as well, is it was always nonviolent. Like I saw a video of his. He's, traditional Christian values person, big on family, monogamous marriage and all that. And he was at a table, I believe it was in the UK, is at least where the video came from, with a bunch of girls that are on OnlyFans. Now, if you're not familiar with OnlyFans is a free video posting platform where you can get paid for your content. It tends to be adult-natured content that is 18 plus. Is what generally people are going there for.
Yeah.
So all these girls are putting out, pornographic content, and could you have a more contrary set of opinions about just traditional morality?
Different values.
Probably not. And he's there and just having a conversation and talking to him about what they believe and sharing his beliefs. Did it turn violent? Did they start cursing at each other? No. Now, Dale Carnegie has the famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
It's a great book.
It's a phenomenal book. Nowhere in that book does he promote arguing with other people. It's not about argument. It's about sharing in a respectful way what you believe, not demeaning what someone else believes, but trying to persuade through civil, respectful discourse someone to your side, your way of thinking.
And I don't knock the youth or just society in general on our inability to discern what is right, what is wrong, what is evil, what needs to be stand up to, because albeit agree with Dr. King and Gandhi in nonviolence, but I also agree that there's a certain point that violence may be the only action. Like, we, as the United States of America, needed to stand in the gap between the rest of the world and the Nazi Germany. We had to. We had to send people to their deaths. There's folks that are dying in the armed services right now to defend our freedoms. And I think that that's a beautiful sacrifice that they have. And all of those World War II veterans who did the same thing so we could sit here and think and believe and worship and identify in the way that we do now, to even have this opportunity to be talking about this now, is because people died violently to defend it. And I think
to defend free speech.
To defend it. And I do believe that there's a point where we have to do that violently if that's what it makes. But how do we discern what's evil and what's bad in this world where we're just in echo chambers, where you have CNN saying that the right is bad and you have Fox saying that the left is bad, and both of the folks that are watching those things think that the other side is evil and have so much evidence to prove that it's evil? I truly believe that sick person that killed Charlie Kirk probably thought he was doing a good thing. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know what that looks like when it comes to the media. I don't know what that looks like when it comes to people being accountable for spreading hate and vitriol. that spreads so much that it just convinces a group of folks that another group of folks that are internal to America are the bad guys, and we're fighting up to a point where we're killing each other. Like, I don't know what that looks like in America when it comes to freedom of speech, but it doesn't look like what I'm hearing on CNN, MSNBC. It doesn't look like what I'm hearing on Fox. It's got to be something different. Like, it doesn't look like that Facebook where they admitted, yeah, we filtered conservative speech. There's something that we can do about that. Like, I don't know what that looks like. And I know it's a slippery slope, because when you start censoring and you start regulating anything, the people in power can pervert that into their own devices for their own benefits. I don't know what that looks like, but I really do think that we need to get back to a level where it's easy to discern actual news from opinion and theatrics that create this vitriol that we have right now that's leading to murdering people for disagreeing with them.
For sure. You know, you're right. There are times in history where, armed conflict has been necessary, and all those examples, World War II and, the recent stuff with counterterrorism in the Middle East and these other things. We weren't firing the first shot. It wasn't America going out there and saying, hey, we need to invade Europe.
True.
That was Germany that had invaded. It's the terrorists that have been bombing other people, and it's, call it self-defense in that case.
Yeah.
And not even with America's laws today, you don't fire the first shot. There's very limited circumstances where you can, but self-defense is allowed when someone is trying to infringe upon your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this, and this, you mentioned the overcorrection and now the kind of censoring of more progressive liberal speech nowadays. And it's an interesting argument going on right now. What is fascinating about this, though, is Charlie himself is quoted as saying, you should be allowed to say outrageous things. And that he is reported to have rejected the idea of quote unquote hate speech laws, saying that, quote, even ugly speech, all of it is protected by the First Amendment.
It's true. It doesn't feel good, but it's true. Like, because where do you draw the line?
In some cases, yeah. I mean, some of the things that have been said after this are absolutely grotesque. Now, where I disagree with Charlie is kind of what you were talking about with the news. When the source of the information, now we can call it CNN, MSNBC, Fox, any of these outlets that are reporting news is supposed to be factual.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are purposefully lying to your viewers, misrepresenting, misquoting,
manipulating
video and audio footage to make it fit your agenda, I think that's a problem, and to your point, should have some accountability. If you are a public figure, Ilhan Omar is the most recent one, who came under fire for what she said about Charlie. When you are in office representing your constituency, and your words carry a lot more weight than just somebody on the street yelling and holding up the sign about the end of the world, I think there should be some accountability. Because when people get up there in politics and are calling for violence, it creates violence. When the news is calling for violence and for people to go take action because they believe differently than the news outlet does, it creates these situations with Charlie Kirk.
And I think intention matters too, right? Like, if the news is calling for violence because we need to stop the spread of Nazi idealism and the eradication of the Jewish people, then A, I'm all for it. But if the news is calling for violence because they know that it hijacks your amygdala and we have a certain amount of advertising slots that we need to spend, and we could say that if we say this specific thing at this specific time, it's going to make people angry, and that's going to, equate out to 20% more viewership and engagement. That's two different things, you know what I mean? So I think that maybe even more so than just the censoring or the accountability for it, maybe it's visibility and transparency. Maybe it's we come up with some type of conflict of interest type visibility that says if you're at a certain point as a elected official or a constituency representative or a media conglomerate or whatever, there's transparency in the algorithms that you use to guide and judge the things that you say and you put out there. Like, there has to be some type of fact checkers or something that can just go out there and say, yeah, well, the primary reason why this was said is because of this end goal, because of this thing. And I don't know what that looks like, but I can imagine that AI could get us there. But it's just, I would love to know where these conflicts of interests are. And that's at every level. You know, if you're a senator and you're pushing for this bill, and it's because you have a donor that's giving you $2 million for your campaign, like, I want to know that, because that changes my opinion on why you're saying the things that you're saying and backing the things that you're backing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If
True.
you're a conservative outlet and you're saying that the other side is X, Y, and Z, I want to know what impact that has on your viewership and what kind of dollars that means for your bottom line. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're echoing this message because when they said this, their viewership went up 35% and they made $5 billion. I can understand why this is popular right now. Just some type of transparency measure, but I digress. I think that we're just in this servo mechanism place of we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to get to that constitutional right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we haven't got there yet. We weren't even close there in the MLK days. We're not even close to there today. But what I can tell you is that we're closer than we've ever been. And we continue to get closer every time we have these type of conversations. But an attack on a man like Charlie Kirk, who's trying to express, debate, and have discourse around how we can get there, in his opinion, and a silencing of that opinion, that's what gets us farther away. That's what would take us off of the course. We have to be able to talk. We have to be able to just grit our teeth if we don't agree with somebody and not look at them like a villain. You want to hear something crazy? I'll be transparent. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this. Probably. So I won't name any names. But I worked at a place, and I won't say where I worked, where I got hit with a federal regulator saying that I said some discriminatory things because I was talking about my personal religious beliefs. Specifically, I started meetings out with team. I'd like to do some praise reports and prayer requests. And I always disclaimered it. Praise reports meaning I want to hear the wins. I want to hear the W's. I want to hear how you guys are winning and celebrate with you. And prayer request in that, I want to hear if anyone is going through it. Does anybody know of anyone in or about the team that is in need of our thoughts or sympathies? Because I want to be there for you. And if it aligns with your faith team, pray for you. Because I believe in prayer. I believe in the Lord. I believe that prayer makes a difference. But I also believe that some people don't believe that. And if it doesn't align with their faith, then I'm not going to ask anybody to get in any prayer circles. You know, that's inappropriate. It's totally inappropriate. Mm-hmm. I got flagged, EEOC, for saying the word prayer. Now, long story short, the investigation came. I was, cleared of any wrongdoings. Yeah. But the person that flagged me was really angry and upset. They believed in something very different than I believed in. And you would think that that person, being on whatever side they are of the religious context, and me would be doing one of these things like we see out there right now. But me and this person, we built a relationship after that attack. I realized that this is probably one of my favorite people. We have so much in common, so much more in common than this thing that we don't have in common, our religious ideologies. And I literally went from this person attacking me, what I believed, them defending their own religious freedoms, what they believed, understood that perspective from their point of view, changed and said, you know what, I probably shouldn't say that word because it's just as easy for me to say, let's do wins and wants. How can we have each other's backs and also share each other's wins? I could take the religious connotation out of it. It still accomplishes the same thing. Let me see it from your point of view. And even going so far as to build such a good relationship with this person that we literally hang out and just went to a movie just recently together and had a great time. And it's like, that's what it's all about. We can have different beliefs. We can have different perspectives. We can have different viewpoints on the world, but we owe it to each other to find common ground and build a relationship that's based on respect enough to figure out a way forward together, because we're all in it together. And it's like, if we can do that in a team, we could do that in an organization. And if we could do that in an organization, we could do that in a community. And if we could do that in the community, we could do it in a state, we could do it in a country, and we could ultimately do it in the world, because we're all on the same little blue dot in the vast expanse of nothingness, and we have to get along. Because there's nowhere else to go unless Elon, you're out there watching and you figure out getting to the red dot. And then maybe we could have two different sides. You know what I mean? Because it takes a while to get to Mars. But as far as I see it, we owe each other to look at ourselves like a scientist looks at a hypothesis and an invention. My dad told me this when I was younger. He said, son, all good scientists try and prove themselves wrong. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, it's important to look at life, especially the thoughts that you held very deeply, as a scientist would. And like an experiment. You have your hypotheses. You think that you know. But if you're a good scientist, you know that you don't really know until you've taken the time, energy, and effort to try and prove yourself wrong. Try to prove the hypothesis wrong. Don't try to prove it right, because anyone can prove it right. Crappy scientists prove themselves right all the time with terrible studies.
Yeah, there's a bias in the data.
But try to prove yourself wrong. Truly try. And if after trying to prove yourself wrong, doing everything that you can to do that, you can't, maybe you're onto something. And you owe it to yourself to question your own tightly held beliefs, like a scientist would try to prove themselves wrong in an experiment. Because if they truly are true, and there are truths, I don't know what happened in the world where we got away from this, like, truth. There is truth out there. Like, 2 plus 2 has to equal 4. 2 plus 2 can't equal 3 and 4. It has to equal 4. There has to be empirical truths. And I believe that there are truths out there. And we owe it to ourselves, not trying to prove why our truth is true and your truth could be true, but we owe it to ourselves to truly find the truth that is out there. And to do that, we have to listen to people that have different opinions, that have data that could say, hey, I know you've been trying to prove yourself wrong in this area. I have some data that may do that, and say, wow, that's interesting. I am wrong. And I could change my mind and grow and become a better, stronger, faster version of myself because of it. It's not about my beliefs. It's about how we could win together. And I just hope we get there from a perspective of leadership. And we have folks like MLK saying things like, I truly do believe that we're going to move past this, and I still have a dream. Like, I really hope we get there. Man, I'll vote for that. He or she. I'll vote for that person. I'll vote for him so quick, it'd blow your mind. I'm just waiting for that person.
So that's a perfect non-scripted segue, Solo. So another speech MLK gave, 1957. So this is right after the Supreme Court ruled segregation as unconstitutional.
Beautiful.
So it's the give us the ballot speech. Like I said, this is a time in history. There'd been segregation in schools and buses and everything else. And Supreme Court ruled that's unconstitutional. And so Dr. King Jr. said, give us the ballot and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights, including the First Amendment with free speech. Give us the ballot, and we will fill our legislative halls with men, and I will add, and women, of goodwill. Give us the ballot, and we will quietly and non-violently, without rancor or bitterness, rancor meaning anger, implement the Supreme Court's decision to have equal rights in schools and non-segregation and all that. I love this part about using your right to vote in individuals of goodwill.
Right.
Who are nonviolent and who are promoting civil discourse and unity in our country.
Yeah.
The thing that I hate about election years more than any other is the nonstop ads where they are just mudslinging at each other. It has become less of what am I actually going to go do for you,
Yeah.
and why is this other person a piece of crap?
Yeah.
When they're not. They're not a piece of crap.
They're not.
It's
I mean, a couple of them got to be, right? We're still waiting on this
well,
list to come out. A
they are
couple of them,
human beings.
yeah, a couple of them got to be. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that should never have been in office that are in office today, and
Yeah, for sure.
that's always the case. There
But
there are
I get you.
legitimately. I mean, you said a couple weeks ago how there's that data on politicians that literally don't do anything, and
They
they're
do
just in
nothing.
there creating civil discord all the
Yeah,
time. Like that's kind of how they stay in office. But
that's all they're doing.
outside of that, right? Like, friends, this is one where we have to lead by example. I read that Charlie was worried about being assassinated. Like he thought it was a real and plausible event that would happen at some point.
He was playing a dangerous game.
He was. He was playing a dangerous game by doing what? Standing up for what he believed in, trying to spread a message of goodwill and, political discourse. And he would talk about his values, and he talked about the things he believed in, and he would have healthy debate about it. There is no reason that a person should ever have to worry about being shot because they're standing up for what they believe in.
Yeah.
Now, if they are taking...
Like, let's just be honest. I wish that was true. Jesus got crucified for speaking grace and love and unity. Crucified. Yeah. So that's the ultimate target of the servo mechanism. Can we get to a point where we have so much love, respect, and I would say grace for each other, and just respect for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that we can say, like we can say, no one is ever going to get assassinated, crucified, shot, killed, persecuted for standing on what they believe in. I really do hope we can get to that point. I think that we can.
I do hope we can get there. We can. But it takes every one of us to take the rancor out of our own hearts.
Yeah.
To accept other people, regardless of what they believe in. Respect them enough as a fellow human being.
Right.
A fellow, citizen of the United States of America who has the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that we do individually ourselves, and be willing to have healthy dialogue. I cannot stand the discourse going on in the news right now about censoring people. I cannot stand for it because, as you said, just a few short years ago, it was on the other side.
Yeah. It's all the same stuff.
Same stuff. It flipped which party's being censored right now.
We've seen it. We've seen racism. We've seen reverse racism. We've seen sexism. We've seen reverse sexism. We've seen censoring on the right, censoring on the left. It's all the same evil. It's all the same stuff. It's just who has the mic and who has the loudest voice to do it to the other person. And until we decide, I'm not going to repeat the sins of the father, right? I know I got the power now, and I've been put in my place for too long, when I'm not putting nobody in their place when I get the power. And I'm going to love and respect and turn the other cheek. I'm going to forgive. I'm going to forget my right that I have to punish you for the things that you did, that we're not right, we're not cool, we're not wrong, because I want to move forward. I want to move forward. And that's a tough thing to do. That's a very tough thing to do. But I think that we can get there. But it's going to start with, I was praying the other day. I was really scared. Like I'm going through some things right now, professionally, that really scares me. Just because of the current state of the economy and our industry and just a lot of stuff. It's just scary. I feel like I'm on unstable ground. And I was praying about it. And God reminded me, he said, Solo, calls me Solo. He said, you know what I built you for. I built you to be a light in the darkness. I built you to fill people up when they're empty. I built you to stand in the midst of the storm and help people see a path forward. And that's when you're the most on fire. That's when you get the goosebumps. That's when you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose, because that is your purpose. But I'll tell you what, to be a light in the darkness, you're going to have to be surrounded by darkness sometimes, bro. It's going to be scary. And it's going to suck. And the storm is going to hurt and be terrifying. But the only way for you to be the light that I was called you to be is to be in the midst of the darkness. So don't look at it and curse it. Look at it and be thankful for it. And look in your own heart and say, how can I spread this light that I have to other folks that are in the darkness and feeling the scary too? So I feel like each of us have our own personal responsibility to get firsthand revelation of what they can do today, right now, to make the world a better, brighter place. And we're so worried about what we can do to make this person do better and that person do better and how this person can do that. And we just forget that it's on us on a daily, minute-to-minute basis to be the best that we can be, and that's the only way to change the world. It's the only way to change the world. So I ask our friends here, what are you doing right now to make the world a better place? What are you doing right now to spread your light, to let your light so shine that others may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven, to be the inspiration that other people need to be the best that they can be? What are you doing right now? Are you looking upon your life and saying, how can I make it better? Or are you looking upon others and say, how bad are they? And it's my job to stand against them. It's not your job to stand against them. It's your job to be the best you that you can be. It's not your battle to fix the world. It's your battle to fix your world. They had that poem, right? They said, when I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. So I started with my country. The country was too big and they didn't listen. So then I moved to my state. The state was too diverse and they didn't listen. So then I moved to my town. My town was too spread out. No one wanted to listen. So then I went to my family. My family really didn't want to listen. Now I was an old man. I realized that the only person that I have control to change is myself. And if as a young man I decided to change myself, I could have influenced and changed my family. Who could have influenced and changed our town? Who could have influenced and changed the state? Who could have influenced and changed the world? Is your room clean? Like, are the things that you got to clean up in your life spick and span, ironed to perfection? I can say mine aren't. And I'm so worried about what other people are doing and saying that I've admonished my responsibility for the firsthand revelation of put that thing up off the room. Do your laundry, make your bed, and clean up my room. Because if we all did that, we'd look up and all of our rooms would be clean and the world would be much better.
That's beautiful, man. Friends, I want to close with a related thing from the Buddha, similar to what Solo just shared from the good words of the good book. Right, Savior said, let your light so shine. Buddha says, thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle. And the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. And one more. Hatred does not cease through hatred at any time. Hatred ceases through love. This is an unalterable law. Solo's just so wisely and beautifully sharing. The only way this starts is through each one of us. That's why Charlie did what he did. He was one person influencing a single life, one conversation at a time. Until it said later on, he was influencing thousands at a time. But it was one conversation, one healthy debate, healthy conversation at a time. And he didn't win everybody to his way of thinking. Neither did Jesus. So said he was crucified because of those who did not believe in him. Charlie was shot because some people took it way too far when they disagreed with him. That should never happen. But we individually can have the moral courage to stand up for what we believe in. Just like Dr. King. We've quoted Dr. King a few times on here. He stood up and spoke to thousands. Didn't start with thousands, but eventually it was thousands, and there were thousands marching with him, sharing in his cause, but it was not violent. It was through nonviolence. Gandhi influenced a nation through nonviolence. There's no reason to take someone's life, to injure someone, to remove their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness just because they disagree with you. Instead, Try and see it from their lens. You persuade them to your views, not through argument, not through hatred, but through peace, through love, and through goodwill.
And I'll say this, expect persecution. Blessed who is he who is persecuted for righteousness' sake. I don't know why we're like this, but you will be persecuted and judged and spit upon and, God forbid, assassinated because of righteousness' sake, how it seems to be, which is terrible. But that shouldn't stop you. It shouldn't stop you from being your best. Don't be a good tipper because you want good service. Be a good tipper because you're a good tipper. Don't do good because you hope that people will like you and you do it for clout and, things will get better. Be good just for the sake of being good. You have to be good and expect nothing. And if anything, trouble in return. Because trouble is what we're going to get all too often. And trouble is what stops people from being good. And they make an excuse not to be good because I tried to be good and I didn't get anything from it. It's not about you. It's not about us. It's about all of us. And if we could all just decide to be good, no matter what we get, maybe, just maybe, we could keep this being good up enough to actually see the world become a better place. But it's going to take some time. So be good. I know there's conservatives out there that are enraged because this kid got shot and killed. And you should be, but just still be good anyway. Be kind anyway. Forgive anyway. I know there's liberals out there that are angry because they didn't necessarily agree with the message. There's some folks out there that feel like they're so entrenched in their message that this could be a win for their side. Which, in my mind, is terrible. But regardless, be good anyway. Forgive, love, spread positivity. Be transparent and honest, and do your absolute best in the spite of your anger and your vitriol and your fear and all the other crap that we've been given in our emotions in this broken and beat up world. Be a light in the darkness. That's my ask. And no, you're not going to do it all the time. Like, I know I'm not, if it was that easy, we'd be walking on water and curing the lame, but it ain't that easy. So give yourself grace and know that sometimes you're just going to wake up pissed off, angry, and mad. Know that sometimes you're going to say some stuff. God forbid anyone ever gets my Xbox chats back when I was young. You're going to think I'm crazy. You're going to think I'm all the bad stuff. And you all have done and said and acted in a way that isn't who you are. My best friend the other day punked me so dirty. I was in town for a conference and they're like, hey, you want to hang out? Like my little friend group or whatever. And I was like, I can't. And he had been drinking a little bit too much. And he's like, is it just me or does it feel like Solo's never trying to kick it? You know what I mean? Like, oh, he's just, trying to hang out with work friends. I guess you guys just like punked me for no reason. You know what I mean? I'm not here for that. And I was pissed. And I wanted to fight back. Like, bro, talk to me like that. Disrespectful. I'm a grown man. I got kids to feed, bro. You're over here trying to kick it? Huh? And my dad smiled. 74-year-old man, wise. Man, we waste youth on the young. This wise man said, you know what, son? Forgive him. Because you've been there too and said things that you wish you could have taken back. He sounds like he's going through a hard time. Check on him. Love him. And I was like, dang, Dad, you're right. So I hit him up on the side. I'm like, hey, man, are you okay? Just know I love you, bro. And if you need me and if you're going through it, like, do this. And I'm sorry. I'm going to do better because I should be a better friend. And he just poured it out. Bro, I'm so sorry. And he told me some things that I didn't know. And he was hurting. And it made me want to be a better person for him. But it took that looking past the offense, took that standing with that sting and just saying, you know what, I'm going to choose to do better and be my best anyway. And thank God that I did, because I'm so glad with the outcome that happened, as opposed to me defending myself and being, because I was right. There ain't no wrong in what I was thinking. But like one of my mentors says, Brian Summerhay, shout out, do you want to be right or do you want to stay married? So I would say stay married, team. Stay married to this dream that MLK had, that we're going to be judged by the content of our character, not our gender or our skin color. Stay married to the founding fathers' idealism of truth, of justice, of the pursuit of happiness. Stay married to all these beautiful things that we founded this country on, that we hear in the good books of our religions, and look past all the stuff that just doesn't align with that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, peace, promote love as always. We'll get there one person at a time. Love you, friends.